Hey, Patrick.
What?
I thought of something funnier than 24.
Let me hear it.
86と呼び
Alright, so 86 or 86 is a Germanic-inspired, World War II-inspired series that deals with racism and discrimination, where the ethnic majority group uses minority groups as fodder for the front lines while treating them as subhuman. Sounds kind of familiar, right? Alright, now that we've gotten the obligatory lazy Attack on Titan reference out of the way, let's get into the actual content. See, 86 does one thing in particular that I find really interesting with the ideas of racism and discrimination that it tackles, and it does it kind of differently from other series like Attack on Titan. And that is, it tackles the idea of performative activism or armchair activism. So performative activism in this context would be activism for the purpose of fitting in, for social gain, or maybe just to make yourself feel better about yourself. And armchair activism is just activism from the comfort of your own home. Activism of words without any actual concrete actions to back them up. Both of these things end up being self-serving a lot of the time and don't actually tangibly help the people they're supposed to help. And it's really common in the age of social media. People will just put like a black square on their Instagram or a hashtag in their Twitter bio and then call it a day. To be fair, it is better than the alternative of like the racism itself being what makes you fit in. But anyways, let's get back to talking about 86 and how it incorporates these ideas. And it mainly does this through the protagonist, Lena. Quick disclaimer here, I am going to be talking about events from the first 3 episodes, so if you want to see those blind, go ahead and do that now. Now's the time. But come back and watch the video again when you're done, eh? Haha. Anyways, background info here. Lena is essentially the handler for this unit of 86ers. So this country is divided into 85 different regions, and the 86th region is where they shove all the minorities who they're throwing into the war to die as fodder and then not be counted as official deaths in the war because they're technically not human. Yeah, it's kind of messed up, right? So Lena is in charge of this unit. Although she doesn't actually go to the field, she kind of just directs them from her base or HQ or wherever. And here's the thing, Lena is nice, especially in comparison with a lot of her peers. I mean, she has no problem going around telling people that the 86ers are actually human beings and deserve to be treated as such. It's wrong to see them as subhuman, and she's also very polite when she actually talks to the 86ers. But it's all completely surface level. It's all driven by the delusion that 86ers are all self-sacrificing martyrs dying for the glory of their shared motherland, and that's why they deserve respect, instead of the reality, which is that they're all human beings who are being forced into camps and used as meat for the war machine. I mean, literally, they're forced to pilot war machines. Look at these things. See, Lena will go around and talk people down when they say mean things, but even while she's doing that, she's literally protected by her status as the primary agent of their oppression. And she takes no meaningful action whatsoever to actually improve their circumstances and make them more humane in any way. And this makes her kind of stand out. She's not exactly a white savior trope because she's not going in and saving them all. She's not really doing anything of note, and she's not a quote-unquote Karen or entitled or malicious in any way. She's just a performative activist or an armchair activist. I mean, she literally just sits there in a chair and tells them what to do. She's like the equivalent of someone who would put like hashtag stop Asian hate in their Instagram bio and then turn around and say like, oh, all Asians are good at math and they're model minorities. Like, that might not technically be hate, but you're still missing the point, you dingus. It all comes to a head at the end of episode 3, and it's summed up by the fact that she didn't even ask for their names at any point. She just uses the code names that they've been given by her government. In fact, she hears that they have a cat and she asks for the cat's name before asking for any of theirs. And the thing is, it's not even out of malice. It just genuinely doesn't seem to cross her mind that they might have actual names that they prefer to use over the code names that they've been given by her oppressive government. She literally didn't even think of that fact despite talking to them every day, but she heard about the kitty and she's like, ooh, kitty, what's the kitty's name? She's basically this clip.
I can excuse racism, but I draw the line at animal cruelty.
You can excuse racism.
So, what brings you here?
By the way, if you haven't seen Community, please go and watch Community, thank you. But yeah, despite being quote-unquote the nicest one in her faction, she's still indoctrinated by the propaganda of her country just like everyone else. It's just a slightly different angle on propaganda where these discriminated people are glamorized. And because they're glamorized in her mind, she thinks they deserve to be treated with politeness. But she doesn't make the jump to realizing that her politeness might be completely self-serving and worth less than shit, when at the end of the day, she's still carrying out the exact same discriminatory practices as everyone else in her military and government. The show's pacing and framing are also used really effectively. Half of each episode takes place from the perspective of the 86ers that we're following, and the other half takes place from Lena's perspective. The fact that she's completely disconnected from the 86ers is literally baked into the way these episodes are shown to the audience. It's very clearly communicated to us that she lives in her own bubble, completely separate from them. She has no idea what their lives are actually like. She doesn't make an effort to legitimately empathize with them as fellow human beings or make any meaningful positive change for them. But despite all that, the fact that she's the protagonist and is probably still the nicest person on that side of the fence means that she does have the potential to change and grow into a legitimate ally for these people. I don't know if that happens, I haven't read the light novels, but the door is open for her to grow, especially after all of her conceit was thrown right back into her face at the end of episode 3. Now she has no option but to face it, to face the reality of what her government is doing and her own role in enacting what her government is doing. And overall, this is just a really fascinating angle to take when tackling discrimination. It's a lot more nuanced than just tossing around slurs and hate crimes and genocides and the like, which I'm sure there will be plenty of in this show as well. But this aspect of discrimination, this more passive discrimination that actually seems nice but really isn't, is also important to show when it's very relevant in the modern day. Reminds me a little bit of the movie Get Out, when the guy said he would vote for Obama a third time if he could.
By the way, I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could.
Oh man, so much cringe. Anyways, by the time this video comes out, episode 4 will probably be out already, so hopefully everything I've said here is not completely invalidated. So, are you interested in 8-6? Have you already checked it out? How do you feel about it? This show's definitely getting a lot of well-deserved hype, so hopefully it continues to deliver on that like it has so far. With that, I'm going to check out. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!